Experiential learning. As a homeschooling mom, you've got this in the bag, right? I mean, send them outside, do some chores, call it good. But what if there could be more? Now that your child is getting older, I'm sure you are noticing the potential for them to learn more than when you just wing it. The free for all, go in the forest and explore, isn't stimulating your preteen and your teenager the way that it once did when they were little. I'm going to break down for you today how you can create experiences that allow them to connect with you and connect with the world more deeply. I'll start by sharing what experiential learning even is, because it doesn't just mean going outside. Hello, my name is Natalie Burns with Homeschool Teaching Simplified, and my whole mission here is to show you how to get your child to take initiative for their learning through critical thinking. Nowadays, experiential learning is getting to be a bit of a buzzword, but it often is referred to as play. And a lot of people don't realize there's actually quite a bit of research to back this up as a superior way of learning. One of the main researchers that we have to thank for this is Dr. David Kolb, dubbed the father of experiential learning. He created an entire experiential learning theory, and it's a cycle so that we can really tap into this cycle and make sure that our children are getting the fullness out of this and stretching their thinking to what they're truly capable of. His theory is essentially that a person learns based upon their experiences. They learn by doing. There are 4 stages to this theory. You can imagine it going around in a circle, starting with concrete experience, and then into reflective observation, then into abstract conceptualization, and finally into active experimentation. I mean, a nicer way of saying this could just simply be experiencing, reflecting, thinking, and then applying. This is tapping into some wisdom here. And there is actually a quote by Confucius where he says, "I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand." So this is what we're trying to tap into, this doing and understanding. So making sure that we're on the same page before I get too deep into this here, I'm going to share with you my definition of experiential learning. You may have already heard in the Ultimate Guide to Teaching Your Homeschooler Critical Thinking, and if not, you can download it below. I talk about what it means to step back and provide your child with white space. Now, this comes from a story of our reno in our last house that we flipped, and I wanted to take a built-in wall-to-wall, and my designer friend came over and she said, "Natalie, do not take that built-in wall-to-wall. Make sure that you leave a little bit of white space on the end." Now, I got super nerdy. I went way too far, and I applied this analogy right into my homeschool. And I realized that I needed to create white space for my children to learn by stepping back and allowing them some room to rise up themselves. I was giving them the opportunity to create their own thoughts and ideas rather than simply telling them what to think. Because here's the thing, we cannot make those learning connections for our children in their mind. Only they can connect to the content for themselves. So we set up the experience and allow them to create those aha moments for themselves. This is why I say that experiential learning isn't just about getting outside or doing science labs. It's about that personal process and connection to the thinking. I actually laughed when I looked up Dr. Alice Kolb's definition of experiential learning because she said the same thing, just a lot more concisely. So here's what she had to say. Experiential learning is learning that happens as a result of creating space where learners can get deeply in touch with their own personal experience. Let's look at how to do that today. I've got 3 takeaways from this experiential learning theory for how you can apply it into your homeschool. Key number 1, personal growth. Now, as a homeschooler, you are no stranger to personal growth. This is what we do. We are lifelong learners. We are actively pursuing how we can grow in our thinking. And so you already know that everything that we experience, we learn from. And it is these new experiences that allow us to learn new things. When we recreate existing experiences, then we're really just rearranging what we already know. We don't really have this luxury in the real world. We've all seen firsthand how the rules in the world keep changing. So we need to have these experiences in order to process and navigate these changes gracefully. It is absolutely necessary for you to create opportunities for new experiences in your child. But not only that, we want to do all 4 steps of that experiential learning cycle. Remember, step 1 was to step back, create white space so that they can actually experience that learning for themselves in their own mind. Then step 2 is to allow them to reflect on what they observe in that moment. They're noticing and they're naming what they're seeing. Now, notice that your child might not be super comfortable with this reflective observation just yet. So that might be something you need to gradually scaffold them to do on their own. The 3rd step is my absolute favorite, abstract conceptualization. In other words, thinking. It's that inquiry, it's the insight, it's the problem solving, making new connections in your own mind based on what you experienced. And finally, experimentation, getting out there and using what you know in a new way. All 4 of these aspects of this cycle work together in harmony. They cannot stand alone from each other. Here is an example of how you can weave this into your homeschool today. We are going to look at gardening because summer is upon us and carrots are way better right out of the garden. So let's say your child gets to experience actually planning for, preparing, planting, harvesting, and even canning carrots for themselves this summer. That is the actual experience. Now, when it comes to the next part, the reflective observation, they may notice, oh, my carrots didn't really taste the way I thought they were going to. I guess I need to look at other varieties, or I think that the weather didn't quite work with this cycle and I would want to plant 2 to 4 weeks earlier next year. And then what's different from that, that's the noticing and naming, towards now the thinking and this conceptualization from abstract thought is more like, well, how can I work with this information? Maybe companion planting would be something that would be beneficial to the carrots in this way. And finally, when we get to this doing aspect, this active experimentation, this is where we say, well, now maybe I can apply planting my carrots earlier, companion planting, and I wonder if carrots could grow using hydroponics. This is a stage all about trying new ideas and seeing what can work. Woo! Well, now you have an example of experiential learning and personal growth in your homeschool. Let's get to key 2 here. The second key to bringing experiential learning into your homeschool is mastery. Ooh, that feeling of accomplishment, the I did it moment. It's so powerful. And not only does it feel so good, it actually creates new brain connections. New neural pathways are formed when we bring our active experiences to completion. Now, I found this in a really interesting way. I was wondering, why do so many people quit their businesses? And I learned that when you're a child, if you go to actually experience something and you do not see that through to completion, then it's almost like that neural pathway drops off. Now, when you're an adult and you go to complete things, then you fall off at this dropout point instead of continuing all the way to the end of success. Now, that being said, if you're an adult and you're like, oh no, I'm doomed to never complete something, that's not true. We always create new neural pathways every day. Just like his mercies are new every morning, you can strengthen and create new neural pathways in your brain to learn and complete new things. What you want to do is make sure that you are providing this opportunity for your child right now. Allow them to have their own aha moments. Now, when you do this, it's not about setting up that experience and setting up that space for them. It's how they perceive the space that you set up for them. Remember, only your child can connect to this information for themselves in their own mind, and you cannot do that process for them. It might look differently than how you thought it was going to turn out. Now, this also includes how your child perceives you. Keep an open mind and allow them to wrestle with their thoughts. Even if you think they're wrong, they need to know that you are a safe place for them to really stumble around and wrestle with these thoughts. This experience is supposed to generate thinking and questioning. Okay, here's how you put this into action in your homeschool today. The best thing that you can do is to step back and create some white space. Step out of the spotlight and hold your tongue so that your child can step up and start to share their own voice. All right, and my third key takeaway for bringing experiential learning into your homeschool is knowledge transfer. What's the point? Am I right? Have you ever heard yourself saying this? Has your child ever asked you, why are we doing this? You need to know, what are you hoping your child is going to transfer this learning to? Your brain is wired for action, and that actual doing piece is what clicks in and allows that learning to even occur. Because it's not about you telling them what to do or what to know. It's about them figuring out what they are going to do with what they know. This can be as simple as sharing with somebody what you know. It could look like internship or apprenticeship. It could even look like simulation and gaming. Not everything needs to be an outside experience. Your child is going to be able to transfer their knowledge into new life situations much more strongly after a related experience than if they read it in a textbook. To bring this into your homeschool right now today, I want you to think about how almost every science topic always has a lab that goes with it. Yes, it takes more time, energy, and money to set up these labs, but I think you might agree right now at this point that it's worth it to bring in the experience of those labs. Do not skip them altogether because you are robbing your child from having that 3D full color movie experience. So the next time you go to do a science lab, go through all 4 of those aspects of the experiential learning cycle. Start with that actual experience, that concrete experience, then into reflective observation, thinking about what they're noticing, and then into that thought process and how to apply it in new situations, and then into that actual active doing component. As you start to look at experiential learning more mindfully now, I am confident that you are going to see your child not only connect with you more deeply, they're going to connect with themselves more deeply and connect with the world around them. As they experience creation, the rhythm of life, their purpose, and even their identity and how they fit in with the world around them, they are going to become so much more confident and secure with what they have to offer in this world. These are all core aspects of what makes a critical thinker. And have you seen my new download yet? The ultimate guide to teaching your homeschooler critical thinking, setting up your homeschooler to take initiative for their learning. I will leave a link below, homeschoolteachingsimplified.com/ultimate-guide, so you can snag your free download there. Once you download your copy, let me know what you think about it. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you for the next one.